All right, everyone. This is a big week for Cardano. Cardano is following Bitcoin into this big summer rally that we're having. This is a big deal. This is a very big deal for what Cardano's got going on. I know the sentiment in crypto was coming down a little bit, and people are always questioning, right? They're always questioning, like, when is the tide going to really shift, and when are really these altcoins going to start taking the next massive leg up, like we see right here that happened in November 2024? I remember the feeling of that rise over a month or two and just the euphoria that people had. You can also remember it back here in 2023 in that summer, really. And it just was a powerful time. And I think people are waiting for that. And I want to show you why we could be setting up for that actually for this summer, and why Cardano is actually doing a very good job at following Bitcoin on the path of basically following the money supply higher. And it looks like we're going to have a pretty good summer if things keep panning out. So I want to show you what I think is panning out, and whether we can watch it to see if it's validated or see if it's invalidated. So the biggest thing that Cardano is doing is this week right here. You can see this candle that we have right here. This is the biggest thing that's going on. It doesn't seem like much. 1 week coming up, following Bitcoin up a little bit higher on some news that, Trump probably isn't going to have as high of tariffs, probably isn't going to fire Jerome Powell. That's all pretty good news, right? Also, Bitcoin's following the money supply higher. But what does this one candle have? Like, if you're an investor in Cardano, how can you be bullish after this? Well, I think that this is great news because Cardano, ADA, is getting back above the 40-week moving average that we've been watching for quite a while. It doesn't seem like a lot, but it's a very big move. And the next very big move that ADA can make is actually getting above this 30-week moving average. The 30-week moving average would be a very bullish signal for Cardano. And I think that if ADA gets above this 30-week moving average, it's going to coincide with it getting out of this descending trend line, basically, and it will get around to around 80 cents. That'd be right around here. And I think that could be a very realistic thing to happen with ADA. Now, why are these moving averages? Why do I look at these ones? Why are they important? Well, you can see back here what happens. Let's look at last cycle. Last cycle, Cardano really started its rise. You can see it flirted with the 30 and 40 moving average for a little bit, but broke out to the upside above the 30, above the 40, and you'll notice that the 30-week moving average is above the 40-week moving average as Cardano gets super bullish, okay? So Cardano breaks out. It gets above the 30-week, and it continues this massive rally higher. Well, when price is above a 30-week moving average, it's technically bullish. You can see how in late 2021, Cardano got below these moving averages again, and then once these moving averages confirmed, it did a little retrace, and then fell down further, signifying that the bear market was starting. So these are very powerful moving averages. I know some people look at the 50, the 100, the 150, the 200 on the daily chart, but these weekly moving averages really solidify the trend that is happening. And if you would have entered Cardano as it retraced back to the moving average right here, you would have gone up about 2,000% for your gain. So I think we would all be okay with a little 2,000% gain. I know I sure would. So that is what I think is important that you should be watching here today. Cardano over 2022, 2023, and 2024 really was flirting with these moving averages quite a lot. This is called a stage 1 accumulation zone. And what we're seeing here is the final nail in the coffin, okay? Cardano has broken out of this base down here. It's broken out of the stage 1. This area that Cardano is flirting in is going to decide whether it goes up into the stage 2 for the 2,000 or so percent return, or whether it's going to fall back down here into stage 1 and we may enter, the new bear market. With this week right here, though, I think we're getting more confirmation that Cardano is going to continue higher with the rest of the crypto and altcoin market as ADA pushes back above the 40-week and is flirting with the 30-week moving average. Now, here's what we want to see. We want to see Cardano get above the 30-week moving average, and I'm going to show you one thing where it's probably already started, and we can see that it's already started, but we want Cardano to get above the 30-week moving average for like a week or two to really solidify that that is what's happening. As of right now, we could go up this week, and next week could drop us right back to the 40, and then the next week could bring us back up, right? So we're not really sure as of right now. But what we are seeing here is a good change in trend where Cardano is taking out and resetting this downwards movement basically and coming back to test this trend line, which is a good thing. 3 touches, 4 touches on a trend line, we can probably have a good chance of breaking it. On the daily chart, if we flip this around, we can see that Cardano has already started moving above the 30 and 40-week moving averages. Now, there's some things to be a little bit cautious about here, but I really like to see when the the daily chart is showing something that we want to see on the weekly chart. Okay, it's a predecessor of what is coming. What's probably going to happen here is that Cardano could come up on the daily chart and test around this 80-cent level, and that will take maybe a week or two. Maybe it could take a couple days to get all the way up there, but that will allow for this week or next week to be able to test that next 30-week moving average. What we want to see here with Cardano is you can see how this moving average is coming down, right? It's coming down, it's coming down. What we want to see is it to get horizontal, flat, something like this. Something like this, right? It'll come across here and go flat. This will allow for this orange 30-week to cross above the blue 40, or the orange 30-day to cross above the blue 40-day, and then ADA will be able to make its rise out of this zone and to a much higher place. When I look at charts like this, I think that there's a lot of reasons to be bullish, especially as we see Cardano coming back above these moving averages. It seems very, very simple that Cardano is on the path to redemption following Bitcoin higher. Now we know Bitcoin has already jumped above its 30 and 40-week moving average. I can show you here right now. Bitcoin has had a massive week, and typically we know that altcoins take some time to follow Bitcoin, right? It's not just like Bitcoin moves and altcoin moves. That's why we have this whole Bitcoin dominance debate and all these other things. But you can see how well Bitcoin has done against its 30 and 40-week moving average, and people were concerned. They were concerned down here when Bitcoin was flirting with the moving averages. But Bitcoin never closed below that 40-week moving average. It maintained its bullishness and has gotten back above. That's going to trickle down into the altcoins, especially as we move into the summer following M2. We can realistically see the exact same thing here with Cardano. Cardano did get kind of like one close below the 40, but very quickly made its way back up, right? And so now we are doing that next move up. Following Bitcoin higher, altcoins are going to lag a little bit, but I like what I'm seeing with Cardano because it is done a couple amazing things. It's held this kind of danger zone, held this support level right here at around 50 cents, and it has not broken back into our stage one, which starts at around 45 cents, in my opinion. Cardano is now breaking back above the 40, looking like it's going to spend the next week or two trying to get above the 30. And if that happens, this 30 will probably move across this trend line, and Cardano will be able to break out of this trend line on the upside, leading us into the next leg of the bull market. That could really mirror something like what is happening right over here in November 2020. The last and final indicator I want to show you that I just kind of started looking at myself is the Mansfield relative strength. You can see down here, when it's green, that means that Cardano is moving higher than Bitcoin faster. So basically ADA dominance is rising, or ADA Bitcoin's rising. Not ADA dominance, ADA Bitcoin's rising. Basically ADA is gaining in the market faster than Bitcoin. Well, look at where we are today. We're in a great spot for Cardano, I think, as Cardano is using the zero line as kind of a support line, and it looks like it's going back and forth on whether ADA or Bitcoin is performing better. As of right now, though, Cardano, it looks to be away from the bear market, away from all this red, and looks to be getting back into some green. So I'm seeing a lot of life on this Cardano chart. I know some days it doesn't always feel like that. This has been a great week for Cardano. It's back up to about 70 cents, 71 cents. The next big targets for me are that 80-cent level around, right here. If Cardano can get above 80 cents is an interesting level because it comes all the way over here. This is your 80-cent level. If Cardano can do something like this and just make its way on up and kind of break up and maybe, come back in right here and then break above, that is the exact scenario we want for ADA to have a massive rally in the summer, getting us back above $1, maybe to $2. And, I'm still bullish. I still think ADA is going to be above $3 and get somewhere at around $5 in 2025. So this is what I'm watching on Cardano. Just want to make a short little video, update you for the week. This is the weekly chart. We have the daily chart. Both are kind of showing some really good things. On the daily chart, what we want to see here is we want these moving averages to flatten out, okay? Stop going down. We don't want them to go down. We want them to flatten out so that the orange one can get above the blue one, and ADA can use that as a support level and do something like this. Maybe come up a little bit, come back, test it, come up a little higher, test it, and get squeezed out in this area and come up a little higher. That's what I'm watching on Cardano. Down in the description, Crypto 100x Blueprint. Get it if you haven't gotten it already. Join us there, and we'll hopefully see you in the next video for some more Cardano content.